What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Dead Pulse Theory, along with my partner Jarvis. I am Jman. As you can see by the title, we have a fun one in store for you guys this week. We are actually, tomorrow, we're shooting this actually on Monday. Tomorrow we are actually going to Warped Tour here in our hometown of St. Louis. It's kind of more or less me kind of dragging Ryan along, but he's excited for it.
I love live music.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited. A lot of my favorite bands are going to be there, so should be a fun time. So what we wanted to do is kind of keep it with the musical theme for this week. We'll have to kind of give you our little short review next week, since it's going to be after the time that we upload this video, or before the time we upload this video. So I'll have to give you that next week. But keeping it with the musical theme and the live music and concert kind of going, we're going to do our first list, top 10 list, top 5 list, whatever. We're not doing 10. But we're going to do our top 5 concert experiences. So this is going to be throughout both of our lives, the concerts that we've been to numerous. We're both avid music lovers and lovers of live music and things. And we have an eclectic mix here as well. Ryan more on the kind of hip hop and rap side and things like that. Me on the kind of heavier metal side. So we kind of have an eclectic mix and meeting in the middle with some other fun stuff that we'll get into throughout our lives that we've had the experience and the chance to go to. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to do, like I said, we're doing a top 5, but we're kind of just going to mention off some honorable mentions. And before we get into this, it kind of want to set the kind of groundwork of what we kind of did this for. So basically, a lot of the things are tied into with this would be, obviously, it's going to play into some of your favorites and things like that. So obviously, a lot of our favorites and things like that of ones that we really love when it comes to bands or artists are going to be in here, obviously. But another thing is just obviously the quality of the performance, the venue, the overall atmosphere, the crowd and everything involved, the kind of specialness or significance maybe tied to the show that we went to, special kind of maybe surprise or discoveries, maybe finding out other bands maybe that you saw when you were going to see a certain band and maybe kind of discovered other ones. So it's kind of a lot of things that go into just, instead of just saying this show was good because they played really good and it was my favorite band. It kind of ties everything that I said kind of into that. So setting that off, I'll go ahead and let you kick off your honorable mentions list before we get into our top 5. And I mean, we might, going forward, if we end up want to maybe changing and do a top 10 list, if we have more we want to talk about, we tried to maybe just keep it a little bit shorter, hopefully. Right. Who knows how long this will end up being, but kind of just narrow it down to just our top 5, but we could change in the future. I'm going to let you start on with some of your honorable mentions that you have here.
Get right. So this first honorable mention is actually the last concert I went to. My girlfriend is a big Post Malone fan. I like Post Malone. I'm not the hugest fan of him, but I think he's actually a really good artist. I think he's super good musically. He can sing, he can play guitar. He plays kind of this odd mix between hip hop and
John Mayer.
No, not John Mayer. Hank Williams Jr.
I don't know if I'd go to that extent.
I mean, he kind of his whole vibe is he's this Hank Williams Jr. Modern day. I don't know, man. He's got this R&B. I mean, you haven't seen him live.
I've seen Hank Williams Jr. performances though.
Well, that's kind of the mode.
I do not know. I cannot say that I've seen him live.
I would just say because the way he comes out on stage, he clashes beers together and pours them on his face like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's just got this and he's a redneck and he likes hip hop music, but he's true to himself.
Kind of sounds like Ted Nugent.
A little bit, kind of
Ted
Nugent, but he's currently with the times. But the reason I have this on the honorable mention specifically is because we went to Super Jam here in St. Louis, and it's kind of this hip hop festival, and he headlined this hip hop festival in St. Louis, and it didn't. The concert itself was whatever, but his performance was pretty good and had everyone up and going. But it felt like a moment in time where it was just a very young group of people.
Sorry, I was struggling with my mic over
here. Punch yourself in the face. A young group of people was kind of under the age of. I don't really think there was a lot of people there over the age of 30. It was a very young crowd. He's obviously a young artist, and that's the kind of music that he makes. But I feel like it was kind of like a guy who's manifested and finally reached his prime as an artist, and like is blown up.
Yeah.
And it's just like it was like a moment in time where you're seeing a guy who's peaking at a musical level for a young audience. And I'm older. I'm almost 30. Like, that's weird to say. And it was just cool to see because, you know, as much as like I think his music's okay, I'm not a huge fan, but it was just like watching everyone like react to his music and seeing how much fun people were having made me excited.
Yeah.
Like, and it was so cram-packed. It was the most people, other than maybe one other concert that I went to, might have been the most people I've ever been at a concert with.
Cool.
So that's the reason that's on there. You want to bounce back and forth?
Yeah, we can bounce back and forth. That's cool.
Okay.
One of mine, which is actually at the same venue, we have like I'd say 3 or 4 like major venues. I mean, and one you rarely see a lot. That's where we have the old abandoned dome that the St. Louis Rams used to play in. There's some like really, really big shows there, but it's only for like huge artists. The Scott Trade Center, which is now the, I believe, Enterprise Center, which they changed the name of it, where our Blues play. There's a lot of bigger name people that play there, but the most really notable ones are the Pageant, which is an awesome club that we have. That's an awesome venue. And then what's currently called Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, but used to be called Riverport. It's called Verizon. It's an outdoor open air venue, which is actually where Warped Tour is going to be at. So there's a bunch of different stages. But another one that I saw there, as I said, you're going to have a lot of more on the heavy end and like metal end on my side. There's some other ones in here too. But I actually went to a show with my dad. I would say probably 3-ish years ago there, which was actually a headlines show by Slipknot. And it was Slipknot, Lamb of God, Both My Valentine, and Motionless in White. And it was like the first time I saw Motionless in White live. They're pretty damn good live. I enjoyed them. I've seen Both My Valentine multiple times, and they're always good. It was the first time I've seen Lamb of God live. I've never been a big Lamb of God fan. I appreciate the fact that they're good and they're a very well respected, like old school traditional metal band. But seeing them live, they were fucking awesome. They were fantastic and a really cool experience.
They do
live.
like a rad pit, like a crazy.
Oh yeah, it was insane. Especially this show when it's a Slipknot show, which I've been to, I think 2 Slipknot shows, and that's an experience in itself because I'm a huge Slipknot fan, big Corey Taylor fan as well, and their shows are fucking awesome. It's like basically going to a metal circus, basically what it is, because there's just 9 dudes just fucking beating on shit and going crazy, and it's a great performance too, because they are good musicians. They're kind of underrated in that regard, but that was a lot of fun. Going with my dad too. I've been with my dad for a lot of these shows, which we'll kind of go over, but that's kind of a fun experience too. But just seeing Slipknot in itself is a fun experience. If you're a heavy music fan, just give yourself an opportunity to go check them out because it's a lot of fun. But that was really good, and it was good quality experience overall. Seeing Lamb of God for the first time, and they kind of like were, well, I kind of want to check these guys out because they're obviously a well-respected band, and they just blew me away because they're fantastic live. And then seeing Slipknot too is just a really cool experience. So that was another one for my list.
Right on. So another one, honorable mention. Some of these are kind of random, but I just remember them because like they're so random. But I got free tickets to go to Ozfest in 2006.
Nice.
It was the last Ozfest they did. It was free. Well, actually, it was okay. The tickets were free for everyone. They only had to pay for parking, so they made it free for everyone. I don't know why I said I got free tickets, but it was free. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of the bands. I went with a friend of a friend who just wanted some people to come, and it was just the first wild experience I had at a concert because there was crazy bands and people like in pits just
going
sloshing
nutty.
each other, and I'm just sitting back here. I'm like 16. I'm just like,
what the hell?
I don't know. The reason I said that about Lamb of God is because they played.
They were there, yeah.
And there was the literal craziest pit I've ever seen in my life during their set.
Yeah.
And they were just destroying. People were just destroying each other. And I never really watched. Like I'd heard of pits, but I never really watched people do like pits and stuff like that at concerts. And I did not realize how fucking crazy that is.
It's nutty, dude.
People just beat the shit out of each other.
Yep.
So I just, man, I don't know. But that whole show was crazy. The takeaway from that was literally the hottest concert I've ever been to in my life. And it was one of the first concerts that I've in memory that I can, be like, okay, this was
That was probably Riverport too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was when it was actually still Riverport, I think.
Yeah.
I got like the worst sunburn everywhere. Like,
need sunscreen up tomorrow, bro.
I was thirsty as hell the whole time.
Yeah.
Ozzy was sweating his balls off, and he had a fire hose, and he was just spraying people down. He's like, "Yarn, it's hot as the fuck out here. Let's get these people cooled off." You know how he is. So
Ozzy's insane.
yeah. So that was a lot of fun, and it was just a cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. Next one I'm going to just quickly mention because I kind of have like 6 on here. I couldn't cut one of these off. I just had to quickly mention. We've had the opportunity to see this one band twice. It was a band that I was really into when I was younger, around like early 2000s. My buddies kind of all into these like newer age like rock bands that were going on around the time, like the Story of the Years and the Thrices and all those kind of bands like that around that time period. But one that always stuck out with me was Smile Empty Soul, and I had the opportunity to go. Me and my wife, I've probably been to the most shows with my wife. She loves live music too. She was in band in school and just loves music just like I do. And she is just totally open to go check out stuff. And we went to Pops, and the funny thing about this one, the main one is actually at a different venue. But the funny thing about the first time that we saw them was they bring along bands that are like kind of local bands because it was a smaller show. Pops isn't that big of a place, and they actually didn't play in the main section of Pops, which is crazy because it's kind of a smaller one. It's another like nightclub kind of place that we have around in St. Louis. And there was this young band that was like almost like right out of high school, and had a whole bunch of people come check them out because they were all like their high school buddies and stuff. Mm-hmm. They all left after that band was done, and they were fucking horrendous. This like young band was trash. They're so bad. They're just kids that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And I mean, I get it. Everybody's starts at a certain point, when trying to like figure things out and stuff. But you just tell they were way inexperienced and not that good. Everybody left, and the whole fucking place basically cleared out. There was like 20 people left at this. I'm like not even exaggerating. There was like 20 people, and we sat at this desk and watched Smile Empty Soul play. And like I said, I kind of reintroduce myself to them because they're not a very popular band by any means, obviously judging by the fact that they had like 20 people there, but it solidified with me after watching that show that they are the most underrated rock band in the history of music. They are fucking tremendous. Sean Danielson, who's the lead singer, is literally this generation's Kurt Cobain. Like, he can do anything. He is such a genuinely nice dude. We got to meet him at both shows, and they put on an amazing performance. And they just love music. They love putting on and putting out new music. They literally came out with like CDs, like, and albums like every other couple years or whatever, and they just love music and they have a passion for it. And I got to meet them. But the Foo Bar one, which is another nightclub I saw them at, we really got to like really interact with them. We kind of chilled with them after like the show was over and had a couple of people come check them out or whatever. They always put on a great performance. They always give 110% regardless if there's 20 people there, how many people they play in front of. And I got to go literally tell them, like, dude, you guys are like the most underrated band I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, you know what, man? As long as you appreciate us and you enjoy it, it doesn't really matter anything else. So, I mean, he's a very genuine dude. All the guys in that band are awesome. So I really wanted to quickly mention that one because I love that band. I love Smile Empty Soul. They're a great band. If you're a fan of just good, modernized like kind of rock, they are out. They're tremendous. So definitely give them a listen if you've never heard of them before because they definitely deserve it for sure. So I'd put that one on there.
Cool. So this next one, I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you or not, but this is not like a traditional concert. This concert was at the Fox Theater, and I went when I think it was probably 16 or 17, maybe even, I don't even know. 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. A friend of mine was just like, I got free tickets to go to this thing called Video Games Live. And I was like, what the hell is...
Oh, you did tell me about this.
What the hell is this thing? And it essentially, it's they have an orchestra, and they have a whole just like group of musicians just play music from video games.
That's neat.
And they have a screen behind them, and they just show like the game while they're playing. And they had a guy come out and play piano from Final Fantasy, and then they did Super Mario, and then they did like a bunch of just different like games from the 90s and 80s and current stuff, and it was really cool. Like, they would just start playing something. They would almost start playing something and then try to see if the crowd could kind of guess. And then slowly they'd put it up on the screen, and it would just be, oh yeah, that I remember where that's from. Yeah. So it was super cool. That's cool. It wasn't like a stand up and like, yeah, have a good time. It was just like a sit there and just like kind of just watch it and just like be like, this is so cool.
It's a different kind of experience too.
Yeah,
That's
and
fun.
it's a different kind of experience. And the Fox Theater's gorgeous. Like
yeah.
that
was the other one that I forgot to mention, Fox Theater, and that's like nationally known as being one of the best theater, and it's amazing in there. It's so old, and like the tradition that lies there, and the people that have played that. It's a very cool place.
Yeah. The place was cool, and then just the setup was cool, and it was just like watching a symphony of video game stuff. I don't know if I would go see a symphony if there wasn't some kind of incentive like video game
cool
music.
Themed thing or whatever.
Maybe I would now because I'm older and I think it'd be super interesting. But now at the time I was a teenager, I didn't care about.
Yeah, any chance you get to go to the Fox for sure. That's a fun experience. If you got anybody ever comes through St. Louis and you have a couple days or whatever, go check out a show there, like a play or a musical or something like that. I've seen a couple shows there, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's just a cool experience to be there because historical places like that are really cool. One that I'll quickly run through here. One of my favorite bands of all time, which is Parkway Drive, and another one, A Day to Remember, I actually saw in Peoria, Illinois. Me and my wife went there on just a little kind of road trip. We went and saw these guys. They went and had a special like spring tour, I think, last year. Anybody knows me knows that I love those fucking bands. I have them both tattooed on my body. And unfortunately, we had to leave. I've seen A Day to Remember. I think we've seen them like 3 times. And we've seen Parkway Drive twice. We actually saw Parkway Drive twice in that week. And Parkway's fantastic. They're probably up there as one of the best like metalcore performance quality-wise that you can find out there. They're fantastic. A Day to Remember, always such a fun show for anybody. You don't even have to be a heavy music fan to enjoy their shows because they're so fun and vibrant and really like just put you in a great mood to watch A Day to Remember show. And I love that venue. That was the one that stuck out to me. I can't explain what this venue was like. It was like a modernized like club that was like really clean. It had like lighting on the sides of it. And it was just a great venue for like that type of show. Like it really encapsulated kind of the feel of that kind of show, of a heavy show and things like that. But it was like this fresh new take on it. It was just a well-designed building. It's a newer building that they have there in Peoria. But yeah, so I just wanted to get that one out there because that was a really fun show. We did have to leave early because I think we were going to end up staying in a hotel there, but we decided against it, so we kind of left the show a little bit early, which sucks. But we saw A Day to Remember before at that time, but we saw like half of their set. But we got to see all of Parkway, so that was really fun. So that's one I threw on there too.
Cool. I know you remember this, but we randomly came across this tattoo shop that was running a just like concert festival in Troy.
It was actually I think it was like Ink Spot or something. It was like a block party that had
a block party, and they were running. They were doing just a bunch of different bands, and some of them were local, some of them were kind of known. But it was headlined by Story of the Year from St. Louis, and Justin introduced me to them. Jman introduced me to them.
Oh, watch out!
Yeah, no, kayfabe here.
Fucking up our gimmicks, bro.
I know, right? I'm fucking them up. And I really like a lot of their music. I think they're a good band, and I think they're pretty underrated, honestly. But and that was my first time. Was that the first time I saw them live?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
I think so. We've actually seen them like 3 times now.
Yeah. That was the first time I saw them live. Yeah. It was cool because it was like. It was just this. It was like a fair. It was just like a fair, and they. There
was a lot of bands that played there too.
There was a lot of.
There was like 20 bands probably, but we got there late too because we mainly wanted to see just over the year. But
yeah,
I think Shaman's Harvest was also there.
Oh yeah,
which they played like Drew McIntyre's old theme song for any wrestling fans out there.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
I don't even think they played that. That would have been cool.
That'd have been badass.
But it was just the experience was cool. It was just like a tattooed up, kind of just punk gothy, just like festival almost. And there was just a shit ton of food, and there was just food carts everywhere, and there were stands, and people were just selling knives, and it was just like it was just like this crazy rock festival, and
but tiny, tiny.
It was a very intimate,
yes,
and not a lot of people knew about it.
No,
but the coolest part was just the Story of the Year playing at the end. Like it was dark, and it cooled off, and the people who really wanted to see him were there, and then there was just like assholes that were drunk, just being dicks, and you were always running into that. And somebody was weaseled his way up to the very front.
We'll get to this show later. It might be in somebody else's list. You never know.
But it was just a lot of fun. The show, the atmosphere was fun. The headlining act obviously was fun, and I knew like 4 or 5 of their songs, so I just was zoned into listening, and I just had a good time, and I can be absorbed in, even if I don't know an artist really well or their music super well, like I can be absorbed into live music and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So that show was a lot of fun.
Yeah. My next one was one that we actually saw. Me and my dad went to at Scott Trade. It was one that I was looking forward to for a very long time, and finally had the opportunity to do. My favorite like old school metal band, the band that really kind of was like one of the gateways to getting me into newer heavy music and things like that, and just getting me, one of the first bands that got me into heavy music was Metallica. It's always been my favorite old school rock metal band, and we had the opportunity to see them at Scott Trade Center. Funny story about this is I actually found out afterwards that James Hetfield, the lead singer, actually had bronchitis. Would have never known. He's an amazing lead man and front man of that band. And to be able to see them, we saw them I think in like 2008, which is around the time when they came out with Death Magnetic, which was like a album they came out like it was a long time waiting. And it was just fun. It's still in my memory bank as being able to see like one of the cornerstone bands that was like my growing up throughout like teens and stuff like that, and always wanting to see them. And you know, those bands like that are still touring nowadays, like 30 years later. And so that was a lot of fun. And obviously seeing one of my like favorite bands of all time and in a big cool venue for our city, and being able to go with my dad, that was a lot of fun. So that was definitely on my list or honorable mention list.
It's number 5 honorable mention. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Okay. This last one here, I guess I'll mention is the first concert I ever went to, and I didn't realize the severity, or not severity. Maybe that sounds like deadly.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
The importance, I guess, of this concert and how big this artist was, because I was like 7. Like, I had no idea. I don't think I wanted to be there, but it's just cool to say that I was there for a concert by this artist. I went with my mom and a group of my mom's friends and saw Elton John.
Really?
Yeah. It was just like I had no idea
what was going on.
What was going on? Like, I didn't pay attention to the music, I don't think. I just feel like, thinking back on it, if I know what I know now, and I know the music, like a lot of his music, because it's a lot of it's great, how much I would have enjoyed it if I was an adult. But
do you remember any of it?
I remember that the whole time, my mom and my mom's friends, and then one of my mom's friends had a kid that was there too. So me and this kid probably played. I think we were playing most of the time. But I remember people yelling and screaming for specific songs and singing his popular songs. But I remember specifically people standing around and talking about if he was going to play this song called "Candle in the Wind," which I think was like a tribute to Princess Diana, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think she had just died recently, or at least a couple of years before, or a year before, or something.
Around the 90s or something.
Yeah, somewhere in the 90s, and he never played it. So I don't know. I feel like remembering that they wanted them to play that song.
Yeah, that stuck with you.
Yeah, but thinking of it, it's not. I guess it's not really an honorable mention. It's just something cool that that I can say that I went to an Elton John concert when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And if I could go back and see him now, I would. Yeah. Yeah, I'd pay money to go see him again and just be like, oh, this is what I missed as a child. Like,
yeah.
So,
like I said, I'm gonna run through these last two because I couldn't cut it down. I wanted to mention all 6 of these, but another one that I went to, which was, I would say, my first true like big concert that I really really look forward to. I was like 14, I think. And Motley Crue came back and did a return tour. It was called the Carnival of Sins tour. And I literally remember everything about it. I went with my dad again. Motley Crue were at that time when I was like, it was weird. I was like in this like old school stage where I was like discovering a bunch of like music that my dad listened to when he was younger. And I was like all about it. So it was like all these different bands from the 80s and like 90s and stuff like that. And yeah, I found like a Motley Crue CD that my dad had a long time ago and listened to it, and I was like, man, these guys are fucking cool. And then like finding out other stuff, and they're literally like just a gang of like just like rebellious like pieces of shit, and they're just I don't know. And it just, their whole aura and everything really just like kind of caught me. And then they came back and they had this tour, and the tour was awesome. Like the show was super fun. They literally played like all my favorite songs, and it was my first experience with some live boobies. There was a lot of them. Tommy Lee likes to have them boobies flopping out and shit. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But yeah, so that was a super fun show. That was at Verizon Riverport or whatever. That was a really cool one. And the one that was really hard to keep off this list, in 2008, I saw my first real heavy like metalcore show. And I went with my buddy who kind of like got me into a bunch of bands. And the one that we went and saw was Killswitch Engage. At the pageant. This was back when Howard was still the lead singer of Killswitch Engage, really like one of the pinnacles of like their time period. They just came out with one of their most notable albums, and we like were all the way up at the front, and it just like I was like, this music, this style and genre of music is made for seeing live. It's like kind of one of those things where it's like you go to, you know, a movie and you're like, well, I want to go see an action movie. Like people want to go see, you know, certain, you know, genres of music. And I'm like, well, I mean, does the live feel really add to it? Like this style of music, it adds to it. And seeing it live and performed and the aggression and the energy and everything that is on display is just, it's like you could cut it with a knife and you could feel it. And that show at the pageant, everything is on top of you. And that experience was like, man, I have to go to every single one of these kind of shows like for the rest of my fucking life because it's just such an awesome experience. And they're obviously a tremendous live band, and that one really stuck out with me. So Killswitch in 2008, the pageant, is one that I will remember forever because it was a hell of a lot of fun. So well, we definitely went in depth on our honorable mentions, so watch out for this one. So we're going to go ahead and start with our top 5. So I'm going to let Mr. Jarvis start with his number 5.
Okay, so last year, Tyler, their creator, I don't know if anybody have heard of him. You probably have.
Heard from you, yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't have a fucking clue if not for you.
Hip-hop artist, kind of out there and crazy. Released what I would say is his some artists they only have one classic album their entire career. This to me probably will end up being the only classic he ever makes. His music before this was just kind of okay. The album that he released in 2017 or late 2016, somewhere around there, was possibly the best album. Not just the best album I heard, not just the best hip hop album I heard in 2017, the best album in general I heard all of 2017. And a buddy of mine who we both listened to a lot of hip hop music together. We said if he tours, we got to go see this because we got to go see this concert live because it was just the vibe of the album and all the songs were just so. It's hard to explain. They were very mellow, but they were just like they grabbed you. It was almost like a Beatles album. It was just weird, and it's kind of hard to explain. It's called Flower Boy, and my buddy was like, "Hey man, he's gonna be in Kansas City. That's closest he's gonna be, and we should totally go to this." And I'm just like, "Yeah man, let's do it." And they kept approaching, and I just kept forgetting. I'm like, "Oh man." I was like, all right, I got to buy a ticket. I think I bought a ticket like a week before it happened. And like I couldn't request off in time. I convinced my boss to let me leave early. We drove 4 hours to Kansas City and just saw this concert and drove 4 hours back. It was like 3:30, 4 in the morning. I had to be work. I had to get up at 7 a.m. and go to work.
Ugh.
Yeah. But the overall experience of everything, the drive out there, the venue that we went to in Kansas City was quite possibly the most gorgeous venue I've ever been to. It was like kind of like the Fox Theater, but it was like the Louvre almost. They just had like sculptures and statues of like angels and just like, and then like everything was gold, and it was just like the venue itself was just, it was like being in an art, like an old, like super old Athens, Greece art gallery.
Wow. And
he performed, and the spot we got was perfect. We were like second or so, rung back up, so we didn't have anybody in front of us. We had a perfect view right in the middle. People we had next to us were like super chill, and we talked to them all night. It might have been the best people I've ever just randomly encountered at a concert. We had good conversation with them, and it was just like the overall atmosphere of the show on top of the music, and the people that were around us, like, were just felt the same way about the album and the music he was playing as it being one of the best hip-hop albums of the year, and not just that, one of the best albums of the year, period. And everyone was around just loved this music so much that they were so engrossed into it. And you look around and 15 people here, 15 people here, 15 behind you, like 20, 40 in front of you. Everyone is singing every word in perfect unison and just, with their hands up and just all the words. And it was just a super crazy experience. Like the perfect atmospheric moment. So to me, a combination of all of that, being it super spontaneous, coming in and just being at work and just being dead ass tired the next day and just being like, oh, fuck, worth it. It was worth it.
Right.
So, and like when we waited in line to get in, like I was super excited, and I talked to a bunch of just random dudes about rap music for like an hour. And it was just a super intriguing, like just the whole thing, as a whole, the concert, the experience, the trip, like trying to get there, like doing all of that. It was just super spontaneous, spur of the moment feel, catching it because, it was like a moment in time for music kind of thing.
Cool. My number 5 was actually one that I believe was last year. Another one that me and my dad went to, but this one a little bit more significant. That's why it's a little bit higher up on the list. Probably, I would say my dad's favorite band that has been since he ever listened to them has been Guns N' Roses. I never thought that they would get back together. I can't say I never thought they would get back together. I never thought like the original core like lineup. I'm missing like one person, but Slash and Axl Rose getting back together and legit being Guns N' Roses getting back together. I never thought that we would see that opportunity. And as soon as we realized that they did, me and my dad had to snag up the opportunity to be able to go check them out. They actually did play at the Dome. Which is the biggest venue that we have in St. Louis. They could fit like probably 80,000 people in there if you wanted to. I think there was like, I don't really know, like 50 or 60 probably. It was pretty fucking packed. But just I watched videos of them because this was like about a year or so since they came back, and then they kind of did this huge like 2-year-long like world tour that they've been on, and they were like still on it like a year later. And I watched videos, I was like, this is insane of how they just kind of like took back right where they left off at. They didn't play together for like 20-something years, and then they just came. I mean, Slash has still been doing his thing with a bunch of different people, and Axl was trying to do his kind of thing of like doing a shitty version of Guns N' Roses, but it wasn't like the true one. And to be able to see them and have it just feel like you kind of were like just placed back whenever it was like, an old school era. And it was cool because being able to see it with my dad, and I know how much he really, really enjoyed to go to the show, but also to be able to like bring me with him, because I mean, he was listening to this stuff when I was born, and to be able to be like, oh, this is crazy. Like my son's grown up, and now we get to go to see, my favorite band or whatever together. And I knew that probably meant something to him. He's not a very big emotional guy, but I'm sure that was probably pretty cool with him to be able to do that. And it was a hell of a lot of fun for me to be able to have that experience. But we saw him at the Dome, and it was awesome because we had good seats because we were like dead straight on. But we were also kind of one of those things where we were in like the front row of our little section. Mm-hmm. So it was like kind of almost going to like, it was like almost like a movie because it was a very chill atmosphere. I think I maybe stood up maybe like a couple times, and that was like towards the beginning and towards the end. But everything else we like just got to sit there and just enjoy, like, and just experience it. And I could probably say it was the best single musical performance that I've probably ever seen from a guitarist done by Slash. The show was literally like 3 hours long, and the fucker didn't stop like at all. He was like just on it like the entire night. Anytime Axl would go off stage and have a little time where he'd come back with a different like wardrobe change, because he literally would. He would come back with like different gear on. Slash would be playing in between. Then they'd play songs, and then they'd play in between. And then like he was just going like the whole time, and it was fantastic. And to be able to experience, legit one of the the biggest named and most influential bands, in rock history is something that'll definitely go down. And to be able to experience it with my dad when being his favorite band, so it was outstanding. And if you get the opportunity to check them out, and they're on their run and still go and do it, because it was a fantastic show, and it surprised me too, because I was like, damn, they like still got it after all these years. Like, it's crazy. And it was a hella great quality show and a really significant show, like, for everything else involving like me and my dad. So that one's on there as my number 5.
Right on. Number 4, I have got some turn up season, son.
Jesus.
Some straight up go.
Get it.
Some straight up go ham.
Yeah, right.
2016, I saw G-Eazy and Logic. They did.
I thought you were gonna say Justin Bieber.
Oh shit! I don't know how hard I would turn up to that.
I'd turn around.
Justin Bieber makes me want to turn soft. Straight up.
You ready to get soft, boy?
He knows me, but y'all don't know me. Your boy like to turn up to some sick beats.
Yeah.
And this concert was turn up season. Straight up.
It.
I was just going ham.
Scissor bowing.
Just going ham this whole concert.
Were you eating ham as well?
No.
Damn,
Wish
that
I
would
was
have been,
eating
dude.
ham.
I want to go ham while I'm eating ham.
Damn.
That would be the hammest.
Damn.
Hammest of the hammest.
That's the hammest you can go.
That's right.
Damn. Sugar cane baked cured ham.
Sugar cane. Sugar cane. Moving on.
I don't know shit about hams.
Sugar cane? That's what you come up with?
I said
like
sugar
honey
cane.
glaze, maybe?
There is a
Sugar glaze, honey cane, soft cotton candy can ham.
Hey, there's a sugar cured ham.
Cured. You said sugar caned.
But that means it's pure sugar, not liquid sugar.
Straight off the cane.
Why are we still doing this?
I don't know.
We're pieces of shit.
Literal.
So yeah, I saw Jeezy and Logic. Huge Logic fan. Love Logic as an artist, and rapper. Love his music. Jeezy, I was like not the hugest fan of his music, but he just makes turn up songs about fucking drugs, pussy, smoking weed, drinking, just turning up, dude. Just doing rapper rock star shit, and just with hard beats, and like it was just people were just turning up, just like
getting it.
People were just drinking and fucking.
Where was this show at?
The Hollywood Casino Theater.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dad, that was probably vulgar to them.
I know, right?
I apologize.
Drinking, smoking, doing drugs, shooting up crack.
God,
whatever. They're
Jesus Christ.
Just everything.
Just tossing grenades. Just doing lines of
I know,
mercury.
Right? No, none of that. Well, some of that, but not the shooting.
Not
up part.
the crazy shit.
But there were people definitely doing drugs there and drinking a lot. But it was just probably maybe the most I've ever turned up, like just dancing and just going hard, being in the zone, just having a good time in my own world.
Right.
Just banging beats and I just enjoyed myself thoroughly. Everyone that was around me, the people I went with, were all zoned in and just having a good time, and nothing else mattered, and everything was fun. Just
cool.
Pure fun.
Cool. My number 4 is one that Jarvis touched on a little bit earlier. Is actually the block party that we went to. Ink Spot block party that we went to in a very small town, which used to be close to where Jarvis used to live, but it's about, I'd say, 20-30 minutes away from here. But yeah, it was just a very intimate thing. The way that I can describe this is, so Story of the Year is one of my favorite bands, period. They have been since I was a kid, and they're still going and still fucking kicking ass. But it's kind of like going to one of your favorite bands and nobody else knows about it. That's how this felt. Because like Jarvis touched on...
It should be called Story of Their Life.
Nah. They used to be called Big Blue Monkey. Dropping knowledge.
Stuck with that one.
Really? I don't know. Maybe they did. They wanted to, actually. The record label wanted them to change it because they were like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, we'll come up with
some bands, Isn't there one like Fuck You and Die or something?
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy ass bands. There's a band called I Butter My Bread with Butter.
Oh, that's...
There's also a band called I Wrestled Bear Once.
Yeah, it's very specific.
I buttered my bread with butter. That's right. There's some crazy ones out there. But yeah, it's kind of like seeing one of your favorite bands and nobody knows about it except you. That's how this felt. When they finally ended up performing, I would say there was maybe 60 people, maybe. I mean, we're talking like a picnic pavilion.
Yeah.
Is what they were playing in. Like,
Yeah.
go to your local park and the pavilions where they have birthday parties at. They set up a stage at the end of that, and that's literally what they played in.
It was gritty.
However many people can play there, it was, and it was. They are all about local. That's why another reason why I love Story of the Year so much. They're all about representing St. Louis. They're born and raised in St. Louis. Their first album is named after a street out in St. Louis, or road or whatever. So they're all about representing St. Louis. They're going to be at Warped Tour tomorrow that we're going to because it's in St. Louis. They were not advertised for any other dates except for this. So it's really cool that they represent their city and represent our city to the core. So, and going to these little shows like that and just being like, yeah, we'll go play out here. Probably not getting paid very much. They're just, and you heard the promoters before they came out. They're like, we appreciate this band so much for coming out here. They're so much bigger than this show is worth of them, kind of. Mm-hmm. But they go and do it because they love to play music and they love to represent their city.
Right.
And this is the only time I think that I had like the most interactive experience with one of my favorite bands. There is a song that there's a super like hard part at the middle of, and I was like, I literally like know every single word to every one of their damn songs, and we were up there pretty damn close too. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're like right up on the stage. And fucking Dan Marcel, lead singer, just goes down and sticks the mic down right in my face, and I'm like screaming the part. We're all freaking out. Everybody's all like having a just crazy good time. So it was just an experience that I won't forget, you know, because it's one of my favorite bands, and there was not a lot of people at this show, and it was just fun to experience that intimate atmosphere with one of my favorites. So that one for sure is up there as my number 4.
Dope. This next one was kind of spur of the moment also. Really glad I went to it. I would consider this like the ultimate summertime concert. It will stick deep in my mind for probably ever. I don't know if I'll maybe ever go to a concert in the summer that I enjoyed more than this, just because of how much fun it was. I saw Third Eye Blind last summer. I've always been a fan of their music. They play a lot on the radio. It's not like a go-to where I want to listen to Third Eye Blind. But went to a concert last summer and saw them with a group of friends, and man, this show was perfect. Like, they played their most popular album front to back with their most popular songs that are on the radio. It was perfect weather. It was a cool summer night, just a cool breeze. I had about 3 tall boy beers in me, probably the most I've ever been lit at a concert, at least I feel like. And it was just perfect. Like, the moment was good, the music was good, and then you just I don't know how many people can fit in that place. It was pretty packed. I'll say it was the fullest, but at least 10,000, maybe 10,000 people were there.
I think they're usually the upwards of like they get to like 20,000. I think
there's at least 10,000 people there, and then you just hear the drop. Do 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 do, and just everybody is just do 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 do, and it's just like oh man, it was such a cool like time with the combination of just being summer, it's an epitome of summer 17, you know what I mean? Cool breeze, good music, good friends, and just like hanging out and drinking and just chilling and having a good time, and it was a relaxed vibe. Nobody was jumping around being crazy the whole time. Everyone wasn't going hard and stuff. It was kind of like your Guns N' Roses situation.
Yeah.
People were listening, and then they would play their hit singles, and then everyone would get up and just have a good time during it. And nobody was...
Don't see a lot of people raging at some Third Eye Blind concert.
I know.
You guys ready to go fucking hard as Third Eye Blind, bro? I go get my shit down.
Well, you know what was cool about it was the lead singer got on, and before he started, they were playing this like real slow, like melodic riff, and he was talking, and he was just doing this like whole...
Did you just say rift?
I don't fucking know shit about guitars.
Riff.
No
No T at the end of it. It's not water.
Rift. Shut up, bitch. I'll say what I want. Guitar riff, and it was just like this melodic, sound. Little ditty, and he was talking over it, and he was just like,
I fucking love you saying this.
No, he was just talking real soft, and he was just like,
I'm ready to fuck you.
He was like, guess what, St. Louis? He was just like, tonight could be your night. And he was just like, we can make this show real special, and all it takes is you guys. And you guys, this could be a beautiful, wonderful night, and let's just have a good show tonight, and let's just enjoy ourselves in this moment in time. And he just like talked like it was beautiful. Oh. It was just beautiful. It was just like, and it just was like, you just get goosebumps. It was just kind of like,
the way that you formatted it came off a tad rapey. But I get where you're coming from.
He was just like,
I know he's trying to be like, yeah, man, this could be the night of your life, if you want to get it going.
It's interesting too because those type of bands that have that cult following because of some of the 4 or 5 songs that are just super popular that are on the radio all the time.
Like 90s band. Yeah.
And he's like, probably when they were super popular and when they first came out and that all those songs were super huge. Yeah. Those shows were probably crazy,
right.
and they just the vibe of the cult show.
Let me know how many women from the ages of 40 to 50 did you see at that show?
It was pretty diverse.
Was it?
It was probably.
I figured there'd be some like just the moms there. That's the mom show, or like the show of.
No, it was pretty. It was pretty diverse. It was younger people, older people. It was just middle aged. It was just a mix. It was just a mix of a bunch of people. Everyone was just relaxing and just having a good time and just enjoying it,
Cool.
It was fun.
Well, we go to the lighthearted, to the other end of the spectrum. For my number 3, this had a lot of elements to it that was just fucking epic and awesome. So we went to me and my wife are going to go to see this band that's one of my favorites and it's her favorite band of like my kind of music. They're called the Amity Affliction, which we're actually going to see tomorrow at Warped Tour. They're going to be there. We were going to see them actually on Halloween night here in St. Louis at Pops, which is one of the nightclubs we were talking about. But we were actually we're going to get back from our honeymoon like that night, so we weren't going to be able to make it. So we looked up and we were like, you know what? We still have time off because we kind of gave ourselves some time off after we got back from our honeymoon. We were like, they're doing a show in Denver, Colorado. How fucking awesome would that be? And we just kind of spur of the moment did it. And we do that with a lot of things because it's just fun to do that in life. The spontaneity of things is really fun. So we're like, fuck it. Let's just do that. And so we got tickets. We've always wanted to go to Colorado. It is fucking beautiful. Anybody that is from Colorado out there, you guys are lucky because it is amazing. And we went in, like I said, it was October, so it was kind of a little bit cooler, out, and it was just beautiful. We like stepped off the plane. We went and we stayed in Aurora, and it was just like it felt like we were on a different planet. Like the air quality is amazing. Like the state of living there is awesome. And it's just a beautiful place, see the mountains and everything. But we went to this little show, and I shit you not, like I'm not even lying. Like you guys can't see this, but just to give Jarvis a perspective, this venue was a little bit bigger than my basement. Not even lying. Like it was like it's kind of like you go into like your like traditional kind of restaurant, but scale it down like 50%, shrink it down, and put a stage over in the corner. And these bands that I saw are like, there's no fucking around with these kind of bands. Like, and another part that added to this, on top of being around my honeymoon, on top of being with my wife at this show, on top of seeing one of our favorite bands, being in an awesome city, is one of my favorite things whenever I go to see like tours or like festivals or seeing shows with like multiple artists or bands is discovering new bands, or knowing of bands but not seeing them live or never seen them before and kind of being like hooked in after you see them. Amity Affliction was opened by Chelsea Grin. Anybody knows me knows I go fucking hard with some fucking hard music and shit. So they're about as hard as you can get. And seeing them live, again, it's like kind of like these are bands that are like made to see live because it's like a fucking experience. It's like seeing like a crazy ass like fucking crazy movie in like real time, like with just shit going on and like explosions and shit, but it's like in real time. And this venue added to it because it's so condensed and trapped and there's no escaping like the noise. And for those kind of bands, it is just explosive, dude. It's just like it encases you in there. Nothing travels out, nothing can escape. It's just all in there. And we had an awesome like spot where we were at, and I was just fucking losing my mind with how hard fucking Chelsea Grin was, and like seeing them live, and I'm like, this shit is fucking awesome. And then being able to see Amity Affliction right after that, so it was just a fun experience with everything wrapped into one. Like I said, being able to travel there around our wedding and honeymoon, and discovering a band and being in an awesome city where like you walk out and you're not afraid you're gonna get like raped or stabbed because like the fucking our city is kind of sketchy sometimes. But walking out in the city was awesome, and it was like cool, and there was actually a Sunday night football game that was happening like right down the street that the Broncos were playing, and I actually remember they were playing the Packers, so we like got to watch the end of the game like at that venue, and like it was awesome. Like it was just a really, really cool experience, and to see one of my favorite bands and then discover one of my new favorite bands at the same time was an awesome, awesome show. And yeah, it was fucking great. So that's number 3 on my list.
Right on. Yeah, that's cool.
And you get to see both of those bands tomorrow.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah,
cool.
I going to Denver, that'd be so cool.
Was awesome. I love that city.
Yeah,
it's great.
Number 2 here was my number 1, and I thought it would probably never be beaten because I just afterwards my mind was just like blown.
That's funny because that's exactly what my number 2 is too. So this should be fun.
My mind was blown. My ex-girlfriend introduced me to 21 Pilots. Instantly loved their music. And before they got real popular, they were doing some smaller venues, and they were gaining quite a bit of notoriety around the country. And they came to Columbia, Missouri, and they played at this tiny. I would say it probably only housed maybe 500 to 1,000 people, maybe not even 1,000 people at this venue. And we waited in line in the cold, in the freezing rain. We were like one of the first 20 to 30 people to get in there. We got right up very front, second people from the front row on the floor, and it was mind-blowing. The experience was just mind-blowing. I just was like, never been to a concert that was just so bananas in my life. They just did, like, the music was good itself, but being close, being on top of everyone, like, everyone being, like, it was everyone having just a crazy time. They just did some of the craziest stuff. Like, they just, oh man, they're a wild band. They put they took these 2 platforms and they put them in the audience, like in the crowd, and the crowd was holding them up, and like it's only a 2-person band. Like it was a singer and he plays piano and the other guy just does drums, and they put these 2 giant platforms out in the crowd, and one on one side and one on the other side, and they both came out on them, and they turned the lights off and they put black lights on, and they hit these drums with like glow in the dark paint on them, and we were underneath it holding it up, like, and it was just like they were just splattering paint everywhere, and they were just like drum battling, just like these giant drums, and it was just splattering all over us. It was crazy. They also do this thing where for one of their songs, they have everyone in the crowd freeze, and they just like split the crowd down the middle, and like when they get to this drop in this song, like they do he sings in this part of the song, everyone's dead silent, no one's moving, nobody's doing anything, they're just standing there waiting for this drop, and then when it drops, everyone just lost their mind, dude. It was crazy. It was so cool. It was such an amazing concert to go to. It was before they got popular with their last album, where they had a bunch of songs jump to the radio. And their last album before the one that came out, the last one, I guess, had a lot of good music on it too. But the last one they just had blew them up.
Yeah. And
in that moment when we were there, I was just like, oh, this band is gonna be huge. Like, these guys are gonna be huge. And for like a period of time, for like a 2-3 period of time, they were like one of the largest bands in the world.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. They were selling out concerts everywhere. They were just the most popular band among young people. They've kind of tapered off. I think, I'd imagine they're working on new music or something. They're not really touring or doing much at the moment, but I'm sure when they come back, they're just going to step right back in and just come out with an album that just has... Their last album, literally, it had like, I don't know, 15 songs. Every single song was catchy. Every single song had a catchy hook to it. It had a catchy melody. Like, it was just like, you could remember the words just in your sleep. It was just, that's how catchy their music is. So, and you couldn't help but, even if you wanted to hate them, just sing along to their music.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the concert was wild, man. It was crazy. So, I thought it wouldn't be beat, but it did get beat.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
my number 1.
Okay, so number 2, a lot like what Jarvis was saying, was at the time when I saw it, I honestly was like so fucking blown away that I was like, there is nothing that's ever going to touch this. And the amazing mixture of eclectic and different styles of genres and things that went along with this was just so unique and so cool and such a fun concept. My number 2 is going to be from 2004. And it is Linkin Park's Project Revolution. This show had such an eclectic and fun mixture of artists and bands that were a part of it. Listen to these bands that opened for Linkin Park. Linkin Park obviously was the headliner. You had The Used, which is another one of my favorite bands from back, in the early 2000s. And this was like at the height of them. This is like right after their second album, and their live performances were fantastic back then. You had Snoop Dogg right after that, and that was just something else. That was just a sight to behold, and a cool historical thing to be like, yeah, I saw one of the pioneers of like old school like 90s rap and shit. This was really cool. Korn, which obviously is a huge name in like nu metal and obviously the 90s of like the Limp Bizkits and those kind of bands and like Korn and stuff like that is obviously a huge name when it comes out of the 90s rock and metal kind of scene. And then all headlined by Linkin Park, which they kind of went with the idea of, Linkin Park is a mixture of so many different genres and subgenres. You have, rap and rock and electronic music and just a whole eclectic mix of everything. I can easily say that it is the best performance by a band I have ever seen, and I highly doubt it'll ever be touched. Linkin Park, if anybody has had the opportunity to see them, I know there's kind of people that, they've had kind of two different career paths. The beginning part of their career was definitely the distinctual. If you listen to this, you know exactly who it is. Nobody's ever sounded like them, and nobody, anybody else will be just intimidating after them. Then they kind of went into their phase where they were kind of more like almost like this generation's like U2. Like they were almost like just making band sounds that were more eclectic to radio and things like that, but still holding true to the fact that their live performances were absolutely amazing. This one is near and dear to my heart because I'm a huge fan of Chester Bennington, and obviously losing him, I believe last year, committing suicide, it really hit me hard because it was like one of the voices of my like childhood and my youth.
Yeah.
That was so important to me because I've loved Linkin Park since I was like 10 years old, and like finding them out before Hybrid Theory came out, which is like one of my favorite albums of all time. I have the weird moth guy tattooed to my arm right here from Hybrid Theory, and it was such an important band in my life as far as like a gateway band to all these other ones that I listen to nowadays. And finding out, after Chester died, you hear all these people coming out of the woodwork saying how inspirational they were to them, and things like that. I believe even 21 Pilots came out and said that they were an inspiration to, and so many other different genres. And it just shows how much he touched so many different people's lives with his talent, which was out of this world. Chester's amazing. But everybody else in that band is amazing too. Mike Shinoda, who is like one of the most underrated lead man and producers and artists in the entire musical game. He's fantastic. But that performance was, bar none, probably the best I've ever seen. They're fantastic live, and I hope they find a way to, continue putting out their music and the music of the past, because their first two albums are bar none some of my favorites of all time, with Hybrid Theory and Meteora. But losing Chester was a huge blow to me. But be able to see them, and I saw them twice, but this one right after they came out with Meteora, which was their height of them as far as music and their uniqueness, and their live shows are just fucking amazing. And to be able to see that was truly special, something that I got to witness. And the eclectic nature, like I said, of all those bands and all those artists being brought into one for that show was a really cool concept. So Linkin Park's Project Revolution from 2004 is definitely, I never thought would be beat. But again, like Ryan or Mr. Jarvis was saying, it was by another one, which we'll get to here in a minute. So we got your numero uno for you.
Damn, yeah. I didn't know that all those people were at that concert. I remember you saying you saw Linkin Park, but I didn't know that you saw all those guys at the same time. That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Number one, man, this came out of just left field. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing too, with some friends I had. Back in 2016, I discovered this guy named John Bellion. Bellion, I guess, whichever you want to say. But he's a kind of a pop R&B kind of hip hop artist. I would say it leans more towards pop style music. But when I would hear his music, it wasn't like cheesy kind of like mediocre radio pop music. It was just like he cared about the actual music that he was making, and the things he was saying, and just the melodies and just the combinations of the music just synchronizing so well, and it just
The structure of it.
The structure of yeah, and it just like it like a majority of his music is just he spends months upon months just perfecting songs. And you can tell through his music if you just really listen to it. His music is just beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, it's just really well made music. And I liked him a lot. And then in December of 2016, he came and played at the pageant here in St. Louis. And it was just kind of spur of the moment. We're like, man, you guys want to see him? I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to go see him. Like, I wasn't super on fire for him. I liked his music a lot. I thought I enjoyed it. It was very catchy, and like I said, it was beautiful. Went and seen him, and a lot of his stuff is produced in a computer and a lot of different sounds. He had a whole live band playing. Wow. Like he had backup singer. He had backup singers. He had drummers. He had guitarists. He had it was just like it was the most amazing performance. Like the 21 Pilots show was like crazy and wild because of the controlling of the crowd and doing wild stuff and being right in the thick
atmosphere.
Of it, the atmosphere. This was like watching watching Michael Jackson perform.
You're a talented artist.
Or watching an artist, just a true musical performer. Like, it was, and this guy I feel like is gonna blow up huge with this next album. I think he's a known guy. He opened for 21 Pilots last year, and never in the history of my life have I been in a moment in time where I was listening to. I mean, there have been felt very good listening to music and gotten goosebumps and just felt joy. There was a moment in time for like a 2 to 3 song period of time during this this set where I felt like I was in incredible euphoria. I was so absorbed by the music and his performance, and I just looked around and just everybody in the crowd was in complete synchronicity. Like, it was the wildest experience I ever had in my life. Felt like my spirit was outside of my body. Like, my soul was just outside of my body. And it was I don't know, people here say they have, it's possible to have euphoric spiritual type experiences during music. I've never had one, and of all the concerts and all the times I've just been listening to music just with headphones or my car or live. At this moment in time, during this probably 10-minute period of time towards the end of his set, I was just completely euphoric where I literally felt like I was outside of my body.
Yeah.
It was, and I know people talk about going to concerts and being like, that's happened to me before. And it's a thing that people talk about with music. And I will never forget that. And that's probably why I consider it being the best concert, the best experience I've ever been a part of, concert experience. Because of that, because of the performance I was watching, somebody trying to accomplish being, for the people that were there, the greatest performer they've ever seen.
Right.
Performing his music and his routine and his setup with his music, with his live band, where I've never heard his music played with a live band. It was different, but it was the same also. So, yeah, man. Never in my life have had a euphoric type experience listening to music or a live concert, except for that one. So that's why I had to put it
cool.
number one.
Very cool. So much like the last two, where it was a bunch of things kind of rolled up into one and just making for an overall crazy experience, my number one literally had everything. So I would say, let's see, this was 2014 Christmas going into 2015. My wife loves to do surprise type things for me or whatever, and kind of surprise me and lead me on with these like little secrets that she'll give and things like that. So she officially gave me the coolest damn Christmas present I could possibly get with this one. So anybody that knows me knows that my favorite band is a hardcore band called Stick to Your Guns from California. They don't really, for some reason, they like never played around this area in St. Louis and things like that. Matter of fact, me and Jarvis were actually going to go to one of their shows, and they had to get canceled because there was like a medical issue or something like that. I'm like, God damn, you got to be kidding me. It just seems like they never play in St. Louis. I actually did get to see them at Warped Tour last year, but my wife ended up being sick. So it's like all these things that keep like getting out of the way. We got to see them, though. But this one, she literally hit it out of every ballpark imaginable. She got us tickets to see them in Chicago. I love Chicago. It's probably my favorite big city that I've ever been to. We are both going to have the opportunity to be back in Chicago for September for the All In show, which is going to be nutty as all get out. It's going to be a lot of fun, which we'll probably have coverage and stuff for that on the show. But we got to go to Chicago. We had like an awesome hotel that we stayed in. This was in February, so it was a little bit cooler, but that's kind of the Chicago experience, so that was pretty fun. So we went to this show. It was another one of those things where it's just the perfect storm of stuff. It's my favorite band at the time that I was like so engrossed into them. Literally, they're the personification of like looking in a mirror and seeing who I am. The lead singer, Jesse, literally, I want to vote for president because everything he speaks is literally like it comes from his mouth, but it seems like it comes from my heart and the same kind of feeling. So it's like one of those things where you just have that connection with a band that you feel genuinely on the same level of. Most of that entire band, I believe the entire band is straight edge as well. I have straight edge devoted to that lifestyle, and that kind of goes along with the hardcore lifestyle. Another thing that was added to this, which I almost forgot about, she added on a meet and greet to this as well. So I got to meet literally my favorite band, show them like all of their album tattoos that I have on me. They thought it was so awesome, and I was nerded out beyond belief. I was like, oh God, this is insane. It's just so cool to have that experience to meet people that really help kind of not guide you, but kind of help like realize like this is who I am as a human being. This is who I am as a person, and this music, I live vicariously through it, and it means so much to me. And to be able to explain to the people that wrote it and are so passionate about it themselves and literally preach it and put it out there every single day meant so much to me to be able to explain that to them. And they were so thoughtful and genuine guys. We got to see an acoustic set with them in front of like 10 people that they got to do before the show, and kind of explain things of how they just put out a new album at the time, and to be able to hear that was such an awesome experience. On top of that, it was another one of those discovery times where I heard of a band and I didn't get to see them. I mentioned Amity Affliction, the one in Denver. They actually opened for 6 Year Guns, and we got to see them for the first time and kind of discover them live, and they're so amazing live. So to be able to see them and discover them at that time, and then to see Stick to Your Guns and be in that, again, that era, or that atmosphere of a hardcore show and the atmosphere of a heavier show and things like that, and it's just palpable, man. It's just so fun, and it's just so energetic, and the positive vibes going on through that, and the message that's being put out there by certain bands, and definitely by Stick to Your Guns, is just it's just energy, like you feel, just like how you said you had a euphoric experience. Mm-hmm. I was just sitting there being like, this is me, man. This is me. This is a personification of who I am as a human. This is what I'm all about. And to be able to see that and experience that live in literally one of my favorite cities with my wife, and be able to do the meet and greet, discover another band, and be at a cool venue all at the same time. And the performance was fucking amazing. They're such a great live band, and like I said, the lead singer is very. He has a message to get out there, and it's so positive, and to be able to see that and be around a bunch of people that have the same mindset and the same philosophy and ideas as you is just such a cool vibe. And those shows are just so full of energy and positivity and aggression, but in the right way. And it was just mind-blowing, and it was by and far my favorite musical experience, with everything wrapped up into one. So being able to see Stick Your Guns, discovering Amity Affliction in Chicago, is my number one concert experience.
I mean,
a lot of shit going into that one for sure.
Yeah, man. Like, I can say, for me, when it comes to music, is one of the most important things to me in my life. I would say for sure, and just seeing live music is just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd probably say, I had a whole bunch of other concerts that I didn't
Same.
mention, but I've probably been to 30 concerts in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot, and yeah, I mean, sometimes they're just like, I mean, they're not even bands or artists that I'm like even a huge fan of. I'm just gonna go just because I like live music.
Yep.
So, and that's just the case. So, I guess we were gonna possibly run down just a couple, like,
Yeah, we could just quick burst them out.
yeah, quick burst out, like bands or artists or some specific.
I also forgot to go over the first concert that I went to, so you can make fun of me. So it's a good one.
Damn.
It's a good one. I'll get that out.
Because I know we've been running it long here, but yeah, just some like bands or artists that I'd want to see, or concerts I'd want to go to to see, because I've always loved their music and I'd want to see them live. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Limp Bizkit, Kendrick Lamar, Kanye West, Wu-Tang Clan, Eminem, Panic at the Disco. Those are like bands that I would love to see, bands and artists I'd love to see live, because I love their music so much. I don't know how the actual concert experience would be, because I've never seen them live, any of them. But also, I always think back to how crazy it would have been to go to Woodstock. So there's a lot of music festivals. Going to like Coachella, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, stuff like that would be awesome. The Gathering of the Juggalos, that would be crazy.
For us to go to that would be fucking hilarious.
That shit would be hilarious, just to go to that.
We just love those kind of experiences where we can just troll and fuck with people too, and that would be hilarious.
And don't get me wrong, like I would totally enjoy watching ICP perform.
Bro, you want to see him play that Chris Benoit, bro.
Oh, Jesus. That shit's... Oh, man. They probably never played that song again.
Nope.
But yeah, like South by Southwest is another one. And then I've heard there's some pretty wild, like, EDM, dubstep, techno style concerts.
Oh God.
I don't know how much I would love the music, but I think they would just be wild, just to like be a part of, just to be in the atmosphere, just people like just
put on your glow paint, get your fucking raven out.
Just raving and just like,
God.
I don't know. I think it'd be just wild to be a part of, and that's how much I love music. Just to be a part of a festival of people just going ham to just weird sounds.
There you go.
So
I didn't actually jot any of mine down. I wish I would have, but some that comes to mind. Speaking about festivals, I always see the
Chuck Berry.
Dude, yeah, there you nailed it. But ones that come to mind is I always am super jealous of people over in England and over in like Germany and places like that. They have huge rock and metal festivals that go over there. Download Festival, Sonosphere, like Rock am Ring and Rock 'em Park and stuff like that. They have just literally every band that's like popular or huge or a big name. It's like always headlined by like huge fucking names like Linkin Park and Metallica and like Ozzy and a bunch of whole crazy things. Actually, I'm kind of jealous because I wish I would have been able to see Ozzy, because I that would have been a fun experience if like Zakk Wylde or something like that would have been really, really cool. He actually is going on his, I think, last set of tours. Some other ones that come to mind, System of a Down, I would have liked to seen. That would have been, or like to have seen. That would be kind of cool. Green Day. I've not had a chance to see Green Day. That would have been kind of fun to see that. The number one, which I'm trying to think of some more that I'm like missing off the top of my head. We did get the opportunity to go see Foo Fighters. That was one that I definitely kind of throw that in an honorable mention. That was one that was really, really cool that we got to go see. But my number one, which is one that is probably going to be coming to fruition very soon, is a band by the name of As I Lay Dying. As I Lay Dying is one of my favorite bands, one of my favorite metalcore bands and heavy bands of all time. And they actually just reformed. Tim Lambesis, who actually just got out of jail from like 8 years ago, and they just stepped right back into just kicking ass like they used to back in the day. So they're probably going to be putting out a new album, and they'll probably be going on tour, and I will be fucking all over that shit, because that would be insane to be able to see, one of my favorite like metalcore genre bands and one of the best and pioneers of it, be able to see them live. I'm honestly trying to think of some other ones. They're kind of out there.
You seen Metallica yet?
I've seen Metallica. They were on my honorable mentions. I saw them at Scottrade. That was really, really cool. One that we both would have been all over if that would have ever happened was to be able to see Pantera live. That would have been fucking awesome. Yeah, you go back, if you go on YouTube, if you're any like heavy fans or Pantera fans, you ever see the Monsters of Rock from 2000? That is like one of the hardest fucking shows I've ever seen, and that's just on camera. I'm just like, Jesus, I can only imagine being at that live. Would have been nuts. That'd have been that'd have been really cool. I'm trying to think of any other ones that are out there, like big name bands.
Any
like
80s bands or any like
I've seen
70s
different
bands?
80s and stuff bands. Like I've seen like Poison and Cinderella and Rat and all those kind of bands. They were one that got like huge thing. But like Motley Crue obviously was like one of the biggest ones. But REO Speedwagon I've seen before. There was a lot of fun.
Styx, that'd be fun.
Def Leppard I actually saw twice, and I'm a huge Def Leppard fan. Like back in like their first couple albums were awesome. I love them. I saw them with REO Speedwagon, and I saw them with Styx. I did get a chance to see Styx at one time. Yeah, I can't really think if there's any other big notable bands. And I'm kind of blanking. I'm sure if I sat down and thought about them, I could probably think of some. But be sure to leave your guys' thoughts and opinions on which ones experiences that you've had at live shows or concerts or things like that. We definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on that, and give your thoughts on the stuff that we've seen. If you guys have seen some of the same bands that we've seen and had kind of similar experiences or whatever, or bands that you guys have never seen and would like to check out, would be really cool too. Be sure to hit that like button if you guys are new to the channel. We put out new videos every Sunday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new. We got a couple videos back on our channel you can go check out. But yeah, for sure. This will now wrap up this edition of the Dub Pulse Theory from our partner Jarvis. I am Jman, and we will see you guys next time.